The Creative Frequency podcast is brought to you by the Institute of Caribbean Studies, ICS, under the umbrella of the Faculty of Humanities and Education at the University of the West Indies, MONA. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or wherever you can catch us. Listeners, welcome back to part 2 of the interview.
It's the creative frequency. The frequency is creative.
All right, Runkus. So beyond being an artist, you are also a producer and the founder of your own company, Runkus Music Company. So what is the biggest challenge you face while managing the business side of your creativity in Jamaica?
There's the music business, there's the music industry, and then there's music, right? Apparently you should love one, learn one, and learn the business and defeat the industry.
Okay.
So the reason why I say this is because you never let them mix, because your business can make you hate music, and music can make you be over passionate about a business opportunity that's not necessarily a good one.
Okay.
I say all of this because you have to stay balanced, you have to stay focused, you have to stay sane.
Mm-hmm.
So in the midst of all of this, it's difficult, especially when you're in Jamaica, which doesn't necessarily set up a lot of opportunities for a musician to have good music business. And that's not anybody's fault. It's just, the government and everyone, the government of Canada set up independent things for their musicians, and France, and we're the home of reggae music, who is not necessarily the home of reggae music. That's not really isn't great. So it's we have to find a way to be balanced.
Okay, well, I like the fact that you're speaking to balance. I also appreciate you speaking honestly about the fact that musicians and the music industry as a whole, they deserve and need more opportunities, especially preserving something that's so culturally important to Jamaica, which is reggae music. It's part of the essence. And speaking to that, What is one hard truth you've learned about staying independent while working with major international labels?
Well, the reality is I would be signed if I wanted to be signed, because you have to give some to get some. And I rather 10% of $1 million and 100% of zero, right? The reason why I say it this way is because there are good deals to make and there are bad deals to make. There are a lot of challenges to staying independent. But I'm not going to scare anyone and say there's also a lot of challenges to being dependent on a label or part of a label. Everything is balanced. Everything depends on the artist and who you are. And I would say to people, create your label and sign your label rather than signing yourself. When you create your label and sign your label, you can avoid certain critical afflictions when it comes down to bankruptcy or this or that or whatever else that doesn't affect you, the person. You're not a liability. You, the person, is not a liability rather than an entity. I don't have a business degree. I have experience and trials and tribulations, and the reality is there's many ways you can do this. I'd say you need to find out the flow of how you want to get your music out there, because it's the most important thing is getting heard, right? And labels can help. Labels can help. And every single business needs capital to start. Even if it's not money, it's something that is in the form of expense.
It fascinates me. And, I'm thinking to some of the things that you're speaking to largely does speak to balance. So even if you are going to stay independent, you still need some form of capital that is an expense, and it could be an expense of your time. Maybe it could be some form of bartering.
Yes, of
I'll
course.
give you this. I have these other skill sets. Could you help produce a soundtrack for me? Or could you help listen to my music? It can show up in other ways. And I think that's really important, where you're speaking to using a diverse set of skills, but also the fact is, and you don't have to necessarily have to have a business degree to become extremely business savvy. And I think that largely becoming business savvy can also speak to having real time experiences of
course. I mean, I think the only way to become anything in life is to have real time experience. That's why I said the word. I mean, I might have said it simple, but when I say do more, I mean do more so you make more mistakes, so you realize what mistakes not to make anymore.
I can appreciate that. One of my former managers, I used to be an executive assistant in my past life when I worked in corporate America. And one of my former managers, he said to me, Rachel, when you're an entrepreneur, if you get 1,000 no's, that's a great thing, because what that means is that you're trying. But if you have 0 no's, that means you're not producing, you're not putting out anything. And that one no
Reality.
will turn into a yes. And that actually happened to me when I was in Paris. I was, writing my master's thesis, and I decided, I was like, okay, I make eyewear as part of my collection.
Yes.
And I said, okay, I'm going to go to all of these different sunglasses stores, and I got 30 no's, promise. And on my way home, I was kind of exhausted. And I kept seeing this shop that was right next to my apartment. And I was like, oh, I'm going to check it. So I went there, and I ran into the owner right when he was closing. He's like, oh, come back tomorrow. And I came back the next day, and I brought him the sunglasses, and I had the whole presentation. He said, okay, I'll put it on consignment. And also, you were charging way below market value. He's like, oh, I think your glasses should be 450 euros and not 300 US dollars. So I said, okay, sure. And then from there, but it was so interesting. I could have given up on any number of the no's that I got, and I didn't. I just kept trying.
That's very inspiring, Rachel. Like, I'm very glad to hear that. Is if Usain Bolt said no, if Bob Marley said no, I'm not doing that show. I'm not recording this song. Man, I say, like, there's some simple situations that would have changed the trajectory of a lot of people's life. Do you all know the story of Michael Jackson receiving music in his dreams?
No, I don't know this story.
He said he'd receive music in his dreams, and he'd wake up and call his producer out of the blue, or engineer, and he'd write them down, and he'd try to go to the studio at some ungodly hours because he didn't want to miss the opportunity of the song, because God would give Prince instead.
That made me laugh, because Prince is it's so interesting that they are
I'm serious.
direct competitors.
That's what he said. So, like, I'm a kind of youth where I try to do I'm the same way. Like, I dream things. I dream.
Me too.
Like, I'm a lucid dreamer. Like, I can control my dreams, and I rehearse in my dreams, and I work up my set, and I write music. I'm like exhausted at the end of the day.
I wonder if that's something that happens with artists, because, well, I guess writing is a part of artistry. So same thing, I would wake up and I would have an idea as to how to complete this thesis, and it would come to me in 10 steps, and I would write it down. And then similarly, same thing when it comes to drawing designs on croquis. I would leave them like near my bed on purpose, and I would wake up with a design, something that I should do. So I've had that very much similar experience with dreams.
I mean, which you should, because like it's like a portal to creativity. It is one of the highest forms of your imagination.
That makes sense. Yes. Yeah. And so, speaking of imagination, as well as like the highest form of creativity and creating, you've worked with the likes of the Marley family, Legacy Gold, to musical innovators such as Toddla T and Chronixx. What is like the most important lesson you gathered from these intergenerational collaborations?
Free will, freedom, being yourself. Yeah, just being yourself.
Okay. Free will, freedom, being yourself. Okay.
Don't be tethered by any like, we're all people, they're all names and all these things, but like, you're someone to someone somewhere else.
That's true.
So
that is true.
Free will and be yourself,
who you are can be inspirational, and
who
maybe
you are is inspirational.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, some people, like, bro, people are inspired by violence. So like, there's almost everything we do is inspirational. So it's like, we might as well have a duty to others. And we have a duty to ourselves.
I'm inspired just by talking to you. Like, when I said I'm going to hit the books and start designing again, like, I felt like an exhilarated. I felt energy.
I'm glad to hear that.
Well, actually, speaking to that too. So tell me, how do you like intentionally use your platform, maybe say, to mentor or produce the next wave of talent coming out of your home in Portmore?
Well, I haven't done that yet. Okay. I've produced and worked with a lot of artists on my level and just like in my sphere of community. I've worked with, like, for example, my uncle, who is a great talent, Jabrandish, and like other musicians from out of Portmore, yeah, but like not super intentional yet.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm helping myself so I can help others. Otherwise, I do things that more like bringing them to certain spaces so that they can experience certain level of production and certain level of intentionality behind the music. So it's not just because it's not just about singing a song. They need to understand the other part of it, which they do, you know. So I try to open those avenues for them to see it.
Well, that's absolutely a form of mentorship, like showing them the musicality, how it's built, having that experience. Many persons would love to be in the room while brilliance is being created.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
guess. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm not. I don't know if it's mentoring or it is, so that I'm just being myself and hoping that
Mhm.
I'm inspired by people and I'm trying to inspire others. I aspire to inspire.
I like that. You aspire to inspire.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay. All right. So, you know what? Tell me about your commercial work. So, you've worked with Red Stripe to scoring the film Black Girl in the Ring. Your music often serves as, like, let's say, a visual narrative. How does your creative approach change when you are writing music to support someone else's visual story versus your own albums?
Well, earlier you asked me a question about how do I approach like the amount of things that happened that caused me to basically the changes that happened to bring me to where I am now.
Hmm.
And one of the changes I made to myself was I stopped making music and started scoring. Meaning, even in my music, I look at them as scores,
Okay.
cinematic. Like how I'm gonna make a sound score for your life,
Mhm.
not just a song. So I look at everything as scoring. So now scoring for myself versus scoring for others is like that's just dividing the brain and trying to find out what this person wants and like. Just if it's a client, then it's like, what do you like? What are you trying to achieve? I give my opinion on what I think about what their standard taste, like abilities are, and try to create from that space, a very pure space. So, client based work is like, it's different because commercial things is commercial things. Like,
Hmm.
it's announcing a product and it's announcing it is. There's no necessary.
Marketing and
Yeah, it's different. It's a different part of your brain. Like the spirituality that I put into the other side of music, not necessarily there, but it
okay.
can be there
Mhm.
depending on the client. So when it comes down to scoring, that's a whole different thing. For museums, for exhibitions, for short films, that's a whole different thing. That's a real like hardcore. You have to pour yourself into it.
Hmm. As you mentioned, the visual component tied to the music component, I couldn't help but to think of Beyonce's self-titled album, Beyonce,
Yeah,
and Lemonade, and how
yeah,
each of the songs had a visual component to it, and I think also too that helps the audience interpret the music maybe even more closer to what the artist's intentions are.
yeah.
Even though still when a person interprets something, they're still bringing it from their own energy, their own experiences, their own understanding of
Yes.
the world. I do tend to keep that in mind. The visual albums that I have seen tied to music, well, particularly when I'm thinking of in the case of Beyonce, it was so well musically tailored and intriguing, and there was some sort of gravitational pull to it, which I'm kind of curious for you as well. You said that when you're scoring your own albums, it's you're creating this visual component. Do you see film scoring as a permanent part of your future trajectory?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an easy one.
Okay.
It's what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you know exactly what you want to do.
Yeah,
So,
let's put it this way. I want to be the only Jamaican Rasta youth in the contemporary rooms. Like
okay.
Gucci need to call me and ask me what colors to put as to represent Rastafari and Jamaica on their new line of shirts. Like
Okay.
they need to call Rachel. They need
Mhm.
to call I. They need to like, cause there's no one representing the Caribbean in these rooms. There's no one
Mhm.
representing black luxury and
Mhm.
world building with the world builders, and
Mhm.
that's the problem. So people are building the worlds and leaving us out of reality and out of the statements and out of the history and out of the conversation. So I'm in a day for that. My
I
people
agree.
them go through that already in many forms, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to stand idly by while they take our brands, Little But with Talawa, and turn it into something else. And I'm like, whoa, but did you pay the government for that? Did you pay
Right.
you pay the ghetto people them who came up with that in the first place?
No.
So my thing is that, like, when I say I have songs when I say I take from the rich and give to the poor, that's what I mean. I'm not stealing. I'm a born Robin Hood too, so like I know exactly what I mean when I say that.
Yes.
You see me? So a lot of my people don't have the opportunity and patience to enter these rooms, to speak to them and deal with them in the way that they should be dealt with to get what we deserve. Some of we don't even have the intellect to deal with it.
But you have the heart. You
Yeah,
can
well,
speak from the heart.
yeah, you know what I mean? Heart is one thing, but you need all of the attributes so that
That's
people
true.
can take it serious for that they need to see what you're doing and you're taking serious to bring it even, more to a different realm.
You know, what I like that you were speaking to is legacy preservation, history preservation, cultural preservation, and
True.
preserving Jamaica as a whole. Like, and making it very clear, like, these are things that are rooted in Jamaica's essence and it's not up for sale. I can appreciate that.
Not time.
I am Sinishe Dingwall and I am studying a Bachelor's of Arts in Entertainment and Cultural Enterprise Management. I am also the Institute of Caribbean Studies representative, and I am in all support of persons coming into our very small Little But with Talawa department. Our department does not limit to the Bachelor's of Arts in Entertainment and Cultural Enterprise Management, but Bachelor's of Arts in Cultural and Creative Industries and a Bachelor's of Arts in Music and Performance Studies. We also have a MPhil and a PhD and Master's in Cultural Studies. So please join us into our faculty, and if you're planning to switch, you can always switch to us. Once again, I am Sinishe Dingwall and I am majoring in Entertainment Cultural Enterprise Management with a minor in journalism.
Okay, so this actually brings us to closer to our final portions of the interview. If you could whisper 3 words of wisdom to your high school self right before you started your career journey, what would that be?
Don't give up. Yeah.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Yep. Speaking to, you give up, you never know what's on the other side of that.
Yeah. You told me the story, and I'm just like, based on your story, it's like, you already know. You get me? Based on your story, it's just keep going. There's another Glasses story. There's another story. You get me?
Yeah, definitely. The grass is greener where you water it. So don't give up. Okay. Well, in that realm, how would you encourage your high school self to overcome their biggest fear about the future?
Well, I don't know if I did fear the future.
Okay.
So that question, they're kind of negligent because I never did necessarily fear the future. I was always like, if anything, I was just not present. I was just like always looking to the future. You see me? So I would rephrase that to just tell my high school self, yo, be present.
Be present.
Because time is all collapsing on each other. So it's the present, the past, and the future all at the same time. So just be present.
Okay. Just be present. And the past is prologue. Okay. So tell me, what high school did you attend?
I went to the original Champion College. Champion College.
Okay. And what would you tell pre-collegiate high school students who would like to get into your industry? What advice would you give them?
Over obsess about something musical. And my musical, I mean, I'm including light direction, I'm including visuals, I'm including everything. I'm including stage tech, engineering, not just the guy, the virgin who hold the microphone and sing. Background singers, anything you want to be, like, just broaden your prospects and over obsess about it at a young age. And because what's going to happen is that interest is going to compound on itself later on. And it's hard to learn something new at 30, but it's easy to learn something new at 10. So unless as a 30-year-old, you carry the spirit of a 10-year-old.
That is true. That, you know, there are some artists who say that, to quote one has said that they are a grown ass kid.
Yeah, the creative is the child who survived. So, you see me, if we can be the creative with the child survive, like we'll be all right, man.
Okay.
We'll be all right.
All right. Well, Runkus, so this brings us to our next part of the segment. So let's take time for chat.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Jamaican proverb? And right now, by the way, we already have one cocoa filled basket, and we also have Luku but with Talawa. So
my favorite one, I have a lot still, but
okay.
Fire them must still him think a cool breeze.
How does that relate to you in your life and your work, if it does?
You know what it means, right?
No, but tell me. That's the Jamaican American in me, by the way.
Help me if I'm paraphrasing wrong, but fire there must tell him think a cool breeze is like basically you're in trouble, but you're ignoring it because you think it's all good. Okay. So it's almost like a cautious like thing, like just be cautious about the things that you think are okay. You get me, I said?
Oh, I totally understand. That was literally me 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, man. Fire that Muslim still and think a cool breeze. Mm-hmm. It's a very serious one. I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm. So how does that relate to you in your personal life, if you don't mind me asking? Is there anything that you could maybe draw upon, like maybe in your high school years when you were a child, or even you as an adult?
I use that up till right now.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to move cautious, man, and careful in a life and in a earth when you do certain things, especially music. Like, you know, you'll tell somebody an idea and then 2 weeks later that's your idea. So like you have to just be careful and cautious and just know, like, evil does not exist on its own, right? And this is gonna sound weird because like I think deeply about things. If God Almighty, Jah Almighty is all powerful, all knowing, right? I'm a God youth, so all powerful, almighty. The devil or evil does not have a space on its own to be evil. God allows evil to be evil because He has dominion over all things.
Okay.
The reason why I'm saying that is because, right, like you within yourself, knowing this, have to go through life knowing that good can happen to you and evil can happen to you. Good can happen to you and bad can happen to you. Mm-hmm. No, are you going to give up when evil happened to you just because good was happening to you 2 weeks ago or whatever, or 30 years of your life is bad? What about the next 30? You know what I'm saying? So like, you kind of have to, you can't look at life. Life is dual, or them called polar. Like it's a polarity. It's up, down, left, right, wet, dry, good, bad. Like it's life is polar. So the polarity to life is very important to my existence, because that way, as I said, fire there must still think a cool breeze. I can choose where, you know what, I'm gonna go and put my hand in the fire, or I'm not gonna put my hand in the fire, because sometimes you come out on the other end victorious. Because sometimes you have to, some things we avoid, we have to just go through, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a deep explanation just to say I do practice these things in my life.
You practice it. You know, I'm thinking of, you said you're a God youth. I'm thinking of Psalms 30, and one of the verses, weeping is for the night, but joy cometh in the morning.
Joy cometh in the morning. I love that one.
Yes. I read that Psalms to my mom every Sunday. And, speaking to this proverb, and I said I was going through that 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I just had to come to terms. I'm dealing with grief. My father passed away last year. Same. And so rest in peace to your dad.
As well.
Thank you. And, it's just rough figuring out this new normal. And one of the professors that I was speaking to, actually, she just told me, like, Rachel, you have to accept that this grief is here. And it was like crippling, where I could not perform.
You have to go through it.
My work. Yeah.
Jamaica have the statement to go through it.
Yeah.
So we have to go through it. Like, you know, man say, I go through it in a Runkus. You have to go through it.
Yeah.
It sounds simple, but it's not simple. Like, you actually have to go through the pain.
Physically go through it. Yeah. And accept it, that it's a real thing. I've accepted that my father has passed, like, more and more every day. I don't hear his voice. I don't get text messages. So I accept it, right? But the going through it, I don't think I wanted to accept it. So I was like, oh, I can do everything. I can get my assignments done. It took me 4 weeks to write 4 pages. That's never happened to me in my life.
Yeah. I mean, I just was looking at some files recently. Last year when my dad passed, I was in, so I'll tell you, our birthdays are close. So I was in New York for my birthday, and I think I actually reached out to Mr. Hitchens about this. The artist and I, Tavere Strong, we were cutting a piano in half.
Okay.
And putting it through a wall and letting some robots play it. And I was building basically some instruments, like some robotic instruments for exhibition. And I had to do all of that while grieving, while making sure my family was good, while paying for the funeral, while paying for this. So it's like, at one point I was like, God, really? Like, me? What have I done? Psalms 22, we say, God, why has thou forsaken me? Which I never wanted to feel that way. You never want to curse God or feel like God has like turned his back on you. So in that moment I was like, let me be better and not bitter.
Okay.
Let me just be stronger, like I guess God is making me go through this, because me is probably the only youth that can go through this. If you give somebody else this, then would I probably crash and burn. I'm gonna just deal with it. So it's one of them things there, but in the reality is I this life is for the strong, and I'm weak at times, but I'm strong because I admit that I'm weak at times.
I think that does make you strong. I finally came to my truth about it.
Yeah.
But listen, Runkus, thank you for coming.
Of course.
Thank you for being a part of the Creative Frequency podcast.
Every time.
It was such a brilliant experience listening to you speak and speak life and love into your work, and also to inspire the next generation coming.
I do give thanks. You all do a great work here, and I hope that this podcast will become the greatest thing in the world.
Thank you.
But I hope that because it already is. It's just for the world to catch up, remember?
Yes, it is for the world to catch up.
So,
yes.
It's a creative frequency. The frequency is creative.
Amen.
Big respect every time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Join us in a few weeks while we interview and chat with MA in Cultural Studies scholar and contemporary fine artist, Michael Elliott.
Creative culture, where the vibes meet the vision.
Special thank you to our guest, Runkus, host, Rachel Fenderson, and Radhika Myers, contributor, Dr. Ray Hitchens, our sound and audio engineer, Dr. Ray Hitchens, musical selections produced and composed by Courtney Edwards, also known as Kingman, our executive producer and editor, Rachel Ann Fenderson, and our ICS director, Dr. Dave Goss.
The Creative Frequency podcast is brought to you by the Institute of Caribbean Studies, ICS, under the umbrella of the Faculty of Humanities and Education at the University of the West Indies, Mona. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or wherever you can catch us.